Previously on Meerkat Manor, Daisy was evicted from the Whiskers by her pregnant sister Mozart, only to be allowed back into the gang by Flower. And the Pups gave Uncle Yossarian the runaround back at the Burrow. For the residents of the Kalahari, the arrival of summer has been long awaited. The changing of the seasons has brought an abundance of life to the scrub and bush. And for one set of wild meerkats, life has never been so good. Meet the Whiskers. This 40-strong gang are very special. They've been studied by Cambridge University biologists over the last decade, and our cameras have been capturing their life 24 hours a day for nearly 2 years. The boss, Flower, wears a radio collar so that the little group's movements can be tracked, a job made trickier with every meter the vegetation grows. With Flower's new Pups proving a handful, no one should let their guard down. Because now the Manor's no longer a desert, it's a jungle out there. And that can bring dangers of its own. The landscape of South Africa's Kalahari Desert is changing. Three weeks have passed since Daisy was allowed back into the Whiskers. While it's business as usual for the gang, there's been record rainfall in the Kalahari. 3 times the normal quantity of water has turned the once arid desert into a colourful patchwork of flowers and tall grassy meadows. The rare explosion of growth means there's plenty of insect life for the Whiskers to feast on. But even with an abundance of food for the gang, life's not all rosy in the Manor's garden. The unusual weather conditions have left a heavy morning dew on the long grass, making foraging rather uncomfortable. There's nothing worse than looking for your breakfast in a soggy jacket. Meerkats hate getting wet. But with a larder packed full of their favourite snacks, it's worth putting up with a bit of discomfort. After all, everyone's in the same boat. And what's a bit of sand on a summer picnic? The wet and sandy conditions are a low priority when the pickings are so rich. And these days, there's a bigger problem to contend with. When you're only 30 centimetres tall, it's difficult to keep sight of each other when foraging amongst the high vegetation. Whilst the Whiskers enjoy their feast, it's important the gang stick close together, as hearing each other's calls is key to ensuring that no one gets lost. Alternatively, travelling along an open path is an easier way to keep the group together. As the morning progresses, the hot summer sun evaporates the heavy dew. In an unending cycle, the humid air creates more clouds that will build into the next storms. Satisfied with their morning's work, the Whiskers take a well-earned rest and get a chance to dry their wet coats. For Flower's youngest litter, Pepper, Nutmeg, Apollo and Athena, it's also an opportunity to pester Mum for a feed. Having indulged in a hearty breakfast, she's happy to oblige. But her little daughter Blossom doesn't seem interested in the milk on offer. She's keen to explore. While everyone is otherwise occupied, Blossom wanders into the dense bush. This is no place for a month-old pup. As the gang head for pastures new, no one's realized that they're missing one family member. Blossom's only hope is that one of the group stumbles across her in the giant sea of long grass. But that would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Unaware that she's in trouble, Blossom continues her solo exploration. But the further she ventures on her own, the bigger the problem she's faced with. If a predator doesn't pick her off, without an older relative to feed her, she'll eventually die of starvation. Lost and all alone, she cries out for her family. But nobody answers. The gang has moved on without her. While young Blossom fends for herself, The rest of the Whiskers enjoy safety in numbers, with sentries taking up high vantage points. It's business as usual. But even for dependable Mitch, the lure of a tasty snack can sometimes be hard to resist. And like Blossom, he makes a dangerous solo journey into the undergrowth. Even for a young male in his prime, going it alone is a risky business. Once out of earshot of the rest of the gang, he would have no forewarning of a predator. Unlike his little sister, Mitch is experienced enough to know where safety lies and soon turns tail to rejoin the group. If only he'd carried on a few meters, he would have heard his little sister's desperate calls. As her family disappears into the distance, Blossom's chances of survival rapidly diminish. Frightened, hungry, and with no way of fending for herself, her situation is reaching crisis point. By late afternoon, the gang have had plenty to eat and find time for a distraction. An old log isn't only interesting to play in, but can often hold some delicious after-dinner treats. While the rest of his family explore, Mitch has returned and once again makes himself useful, taking on the responsibility of guard duty. But he's never been in such a blossoming environment before, and all the moving vegetation is making him nervous. His nervous calls set the rest of the gang on edge. In no rush to get home, Mitch takes the opportunity to have some fun with his siblings. He's only a year old, and his teenage tendencies sometimes get the better of him. A play fight is difficult to resist. But the clock is ticking for little Blossom. Every minute the Whiskers spend fooling around puts her life in greater jeopardy. She's made it to a clearing at the edge of the meadow, but she's on the opposite side to the rest of the family. Her trek into the open could be a deadly mistake. A goshawk can easily make a meal out of a tiny meerkat pup. More by luck than judgment, Blossom dashes for cover. As the rest of the Whiskers head back across the meadow, they remain vigilant. With full bellies, they can spend less time foraging and more time looking out for danger. With every member of the gang this alert, Blossom could be found. Suddenly, the Whiskers stop in their tracks. In the trees in front of them, tragedy looms. Although the goshawk hasn't noticed the gang behind him, he's clearly seen something ahead. In fear of their lives, the Whiskers turn around and make a dash for it. The sharp-eyed goshawk has had Blossom in his sight since she appeared in the open. Although the gang spotted the threat, they've no idea that it's one of their family who's fallen victim. The death of a young family member is a sad time for the Whiskers. But it's all part and parcel of living in the Kalahari. Sticking together can mean the difference between life and death. If you don't know the rules, then you can end up paying the ultimate price. Safe at the babysitting burrow, Blossom's tiny siblings take a welcome feed from their mum. She has one less to provide for now. The fact is that 1 in 4 pups die before they reach adulthood. With both Flower and Mozart expecting litters, the Whiskers need a lot of luck on their side if all the new arrivals are to survive. But it's not only the elements the gang will have to contend with. There could be another threat hidden within the family ranks. Next time on Meerkat Manor, Flower and Mozart's pregnancies reach full term. But will the pups survive their mother's intense rivalry?